May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. For the longest time, I was not sure that I would make a good mother. You know, other girls love to be playing with their dolls, and it came so naturally to them to begin babysitting and caring for their younger siblings, earning money in this sort of compassionate enterprise. And all I wanted to do was keep my nose in a book, right? Or attached to my craft. These little beings seemed like a distraction from the things that I wanted to do. And in fact, Patrick will tell you that when we got married, I made him promise that I would get a PhD before I had a baby. Well, guess how many sons I have? 4. And how many PhDs? 0. Funny God's sense of humor, right? Following the breadcrumbs on my journey of faith has led me right here to this very morning, where I find myself practicing a profession where people call me mother. What? Of course, as a sign of respect, but don't worry, you can call me Michelle, or little kids' Mama Michelle, and around the diocese, they call me Canon Bolt, because my job is the canon to the ordinary, which is a funny phrase for a priest who goes around the diocese on behalf of the bishop. And I minister in communities, cultivating communities in times of conflict or discernment. And when I reflect on the tools I use the most, the ones that I need every day, they are the ones that I have honed through years of slow, patient parenting. Yes, who knew that being a mother would make you a better priest? But here we are. So a case in point, 14 years ago, John Ross asked me if I would like to preach in this pulpit on Mother's Day. And I was 8 months pregnant with twins. Those things tend to come early, you know. So when John called to congratulate me in the hospital on the successful arrival of the twins, I said, "Aren't you so glad I wasn't on the roster to preach this morning?" That's right, that's right. So as with parenting, it only took me 14 years to get my act together, and a couple of weeks ago, I called John Ross up and I said, "Hey, let's dust it off. Is that invitation to preach on Mother's Day still good?" And here I am, using my mothering tools to work with communities. In fact, I travel around in congregations, and from time to time, I have to figure out, is this the right time to intervene? Did they just fall off a swing set? Is all that's needed is a Band-Aid for a scraped knee? Or are they breaking free from the boundaries of playgrounds and about to hurtle themselves into traffic? Right? Anyone who's ever tended a child knows that every moment you're asking yourselves these questions. Is this the moment to rescue, or would that be sabotage? And so we find ourselves this day celebrating Mother's Day. And I prefer the term that they use in the UK, Mothering Sunday. Because yes, we are here to celebrate our mothers, but we're also celebrating today something wider, a whole cycle of nurture, right? Every single one of us has been born vulnerable and helpless, and it took some considerable nurture to get you here today. Someone was involved, a mother, a stepmother, maybe an aunt, a grandmother, a sister, or maybe even a brother. Because you see, nurturing is not exclusively women's work. It's wider than that, and more complicated than our tropes for motherhood too, right? For me to see nurturing, I need to look no further than our newest office puppy. Have you been to the diocesan house? Have you met our office puppy yet? Bentley? Oh my gosh. Everyone who comes into the office takes a look at that little puppy with its big floppy paws and big eyes, and that little scamp tends to bring out the nurturing side in everyone. Everyone, even sort of the hardenedest old-timer, walks through our doors, and I get to see them want to cuddle, care, nudge. No nipping, Bentley. So what is this nurturing instinct? To me, nurture is the care and development of souls. It involves shaping, tending, teaching with practice, and it requires the cultivation of wisdom. Wisdom. Did you see her in our scriptures today? She makes an appearance in Proverbs personified. Wisdom is God's partner who was present before all of creation. And in this scripture, we see her calling out at the entrance to the city gates. If you keep reading in Proverbs, she tends her table. She sets and presides over her house. But here in today's scriptures, she was set up before the beginning of the earth. Before the depths were brought forth, before the hills were made, before the waters carved out, before there were fields, there was wisdom. And she was there when God gave the seas its limit and made the skies separate from the waters. And she was daily his delight, the pattern by which he set things into being, rejoicing always in his inhabited world and in delighting in the human race. Wisdom, a female aspect of the divine personified. And if we read on in Proverbs, we see what happens for those who cultivate wisdom and for those who do not cultivate wisdom. Spoiler alert, it's not very good. So it's no mistake that this very same day, this very same season, when we celebrate nurturing in our communities, we also celebrate our graduates of all kinds. All of those who have stood before the fountains of wisdom, crossing the threshold to the next set of challenges. From our little preschoolers who were moving to the big, overwhelming elementary schools, to the elementary schools who are headed into, talk about big bad middle school. In my household, we have middle school graduates thinking about high school. And then, of course, there are the high school graduates headed to college, and then those to college, to university, to graduate school, and beyond. In May, we celebrate all of these thresholds of accomplishment in the formation of wisdom. And here we see the cycle of nurture at work. Because you see, as we are nurtured in wisdom, we are called to become nurturers ourselves, to participate in the formation of others. Our children become adolescents, who become adults, who grow and increase in wisdom and rejoice, and we forget the anguish of the labor, the trials of their formation, and they become our wisdom keepers, and they become our nurturers. You know, it's funny, when you read the news and you start to look out there, you realize we're on the cusp of how artificial intelligence is going to change our world. Artificial intelligence is developing faster than our human minds can comprehend. And it seems pretty remarkable, doesn't it, that tools like ChatGPT can use predictive text functions to give us all sorts of things that feel like knowledge of the world is even more at our fingertips. And for some, it provokes sort of a deep fear, and maybe even a need for some theological reflection. I haven't heard it yet, but it's coming. But I think artificial intelligence has its limitations precisely because it is not embodied in the development of human experience. I don't think artificial intelligence will ever fully comprehend or replicate the cycle of nurture that spiritually compels us in all of our frail embodiments to participate in it, to give gratitude for those who have nurtured us, and to nurture others in this amazing transformation that goes from the skinned knees and the mistakes into the life experience that begets wisdom. So today, on this Sunday, I hope you pause and celebrate those that you're grateful for, the ones who nurtured you. And you consider how you are called to participate in that wisdom cycle of nurture. Who are you called to nurture and to impart the things that you've learned to? And I will leave you with a poem by Barbara Coker. For we are here not merely to bloom in the light, but rather like trees, to be weathered and burned by heat, frozen by snow, and though our hearts have been broken, still we put out new leaves in spring and begin again.